Welcome to the Listen for Life podcast with Genevieve Richardson. Genevieve is a speech-language pathologist rehabilitating adults with communication challenges after a stroke or due to a neurological impairment. Get equipped with knowledge from experts in the field and professionals you need to know. We'll hear stories and experiences from others who are navigating life with aphasia. So, put your earphones in and take a walk outside. This isn't just a podcast. This is a community, a resource, and a support system. We're in this together. Do life.
Good morning. Happy Thursday after Thanksgiving. Have you all recovered from your turkey coma? I know we sure had a wonderful Thanksgiving. So I wanted to start today's show with a quote. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. I'm going to say it again. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. This is written by Anonymous. I actually wish I knew who had written this. This so resonates with me. Thanksgiving was wonderful at my house. We had 10 people. I did a lot of the cooking. Smoked turkey turned out awesome again. Thank you to my neighbor Jason, who taught me how to use the smoker over the last few years, and I'm definitely perfecting my smoked turkey recipe. So today, last day of November, can you believe it? Where has 2023 gone? I just can't get over it. So we've got 1 month to go until 2024. What are you looking forward to? So we are going to do a post-Thanksgiving wrap-up, and we're going to hear from the four clients that I've been talking about: Shirley, Len, Alvin, and Bruce. So we're going to get some great insights from them. We've been talking about these four individuals for nearly 2 months now. And I hope that you are gleaning from their stories and their experiences what it's like from their perspective to have aphasia, what it's like for their families to interact with them, and to want to form those connections and have them feel included. So we're going to jump right in to Shirley. Shirley, last year at Thanksgiving, she struggled to follow the conversations, particularly when there were a lot of people in the room or when dishes were being passed at the Thanksgiving table and multiple conversations are happening at once. She felt left out. But this year it was different. Her husband and adult children purposefully planned and arranged for some smaller seating arrangements. It wasn't just a giant table where everybody sat. They divided it into 3 different areas in the home where people could gather and have their meal. And what this did was reduce the number of conversation, reduce the amount of noise that was surrounding Shirley at the time. So therefore, she had much more of an opportunity to follow along and participate and to react to the things that she was hearing. The other thing the family did was they used more communication cards. They had key words written down. They had labels, like almost note cards, but a little fancier than note cards, is how her husband was explaining it to me. It was, like those name cards. Think about going to a wedding and you sign in at the registration and you pick up your name card and it tells you what table to go sit at, kind of thing. It's one of those fancy kind of prop up name cards. And they use that to go along with the food. And also, Shirley had a cheat sheet of everybody's name. Even if she couldn't say their name, she could look at that cheat sheet of names and just help make that connection. So, talking to Shirley's husband after Thanksgiving, this is what he said, and I quote, The most important lesson this Thanksgiving was understanding some simple communication strategies that I could do because I was preparing the meal, as well as what the family and our friends could do. I used the aphasia conversation pieces that you made. I put one of them on the fridge, one of them on the wall in front of the toilet. Extra credit for you, Peter, for doing that. And he put a third one on the mirror in the bathroom where the guests were washing their hands before the meal. He felt that those um, conversation pieces helped to subtly give information about aphasia and some communication strategies to kind of keep it top of mind for his guests. So I digress. Continuing on with his quote, I know that our guests read about aphasia and that helped reinforce the communication strategies. Shirley had a great day and was able to interact throughout the day, end quote. That is a win, everybody. I'm so happy for Shirley, her husband, and their family. Next, we're going to move on to Len. Len also has aphasia, and last year, Len's family was kind of unaware of how difficult it could be for him to find words when, again, when it's noisy, lots of activity. And they frequently, because they thought they were being helpful, interrupted or spoke on his behalf or added words that they thought he intended, but really they were off the mark. So, what changed for this year? Len's family learned more about aphasia and they practiced patience. They stayed quiet when he was talking to allow him time to find the words, and they used open-ended questions to allow him to express himself. So they used a little more of a prompting method versus filling in his words for him. So, what was the key lesson? What Len tells me is that last year I felt left out when we played games and had discussions. But this year, my family made some changes to the games by eliminating the time pressure element. They just took that out of the games that they were playing. And he says it was much more fun, took the pressure off, and it made a huge difference. End quote. Again, Len had a win. That is awesome, Len. Congratulations. Now let's move on to Alvin. Last year, Alvin found it challenging to participate in the fast-paced games his family played after the meal. That was their family tradition. So this year, the family instead chose games that required less verbal communication, more like charades, card games, and they added more gestures into their communication, and they set up what did I call it before? An aphasia buddy, an aphasia ally, someone where there was kind of a team effort with Alvin so that he could participate much more fully with the games. Alvin was already good at supplementing his speech with gestures. So charades was right up his alley. And all of these modifications allowed Alvin to actively join in the fun. That's great. So Alvin said, quote, this year, my family used more visual cues and gestures and asked questions more simply, and that made it easier for me to participate, end quote. Another celebration. Wonderful, Alvin. I'm so happy to hear it. And then finally, Bruce. Last year, so Bruce doesn't have aphasia. Bruce has dysarthria, specifically ataxic dysarthria. So it makes his speech a little harder to understand. But if you give him the time to process, to get his words out, it's a lot easier for the listener to process what they hear and understand. So last year, Bruce felt very self-conscious about his slurred speech, and he completely avoided talking at Thanksgiving dinner and during the activities that followed. So this year, Bruce's family made the effort to slow down the activities of the day. They tried to cut down on the chaos and the noise. They actually had less people attend this year so that it was more easy to manage, reduce the chaos, reduce the noise, reduce the conversations. They also practice speaking a little slower with Bruce because what that does is it sets the pace of the conversation. Think about it this way. If you're a very, very fast talker, then the person with dysarthria or aphasia is also going to want to try and keep up with your fast pace of talking. So if you, the listener, model a slightly slower pace of talking, then you have now set the pace and made it much more easy for the person with dysarthria or aphasia to keep up and to contribute to the conversation. So the key lesson Bruce wanted to share with us, quote, "This year, my family was supportive by slowing down and they encouraged me. I felt more relaxed and connected." End quote. Thank you, Bruce. I am so happy to hear about your win. So let's give a summary about the lessons learned from these 4 individuals that we've been talking about these last 2 months. Understanding aphasia. Families learn that aphasia is a unique condition for every person and that everybody's experience is very different. They realize the importance of understanding aphasia and educating themselves in communication strategies to get the perspective of what it's like from the person who has aphasia. Because when you have that empathy and you can put yourself in that person's shoes, it helps you see what you need to do to continue to connect and use communication strategies and provide better support. Patience and empathy. Families discovered that patience is so important. Pausing, slowing down. Families learn to recognize that giving individuals time to express themselves and to actively listen. That means not doing 3 things at one time when you're trying to have a conversation with someone who has aphasia or dysarthria. Actively listening fostered a much more inclusive environment. Awesome. And then the third takeaway, the third lesson, adaptation and inclusivity. Families learn to adapt their holiday traditions to be more inclusive. They took out the time element with the games. They chose different games in some circumstances. They changed their seating arrangement so that there were less people sitting at one table to reduce the noise. Some families added visual supports. They added words and a cheat sheet of people's names. All of these are strategies. They sound so simple, but they can make such a difference. This is why I'm here talking to you and why we've had this holiday series, because it doesn't take rocket science to put in place some communication strategies that can make a world of difference for the person who has aphasia. So using communication methods, visual cues, understanding aphasia, all of these help to make the holiday much more welcoming for each of these individuals. So, how did your Thanksgiving go? Did you have someone at your house who has aphasia? What change did you make? Did you utilize the aphasia conversation pieces? Did you think that was a weird idea? Did it make you feel uncomfortable? Or was it empowering? Did you think, oh, maybe I don't have to have the conversation for my guests to come over. I can post this information sheet about communication strategies, and that's how I can get the message across. So I would love, love, love to hear from you. You can respond to me in the comments of the social media. You can email me. You can reach out through my website. I'll give you all those links at the end. So let's move on because tomorrow is December 1st. I have a December challenge for you because for many of us, the holidays are not over. Thanksgiving was the kickoff. Some of you celebrate Kwanzaa and Hanukkah and Christmas, or maybe you save all your energy and have a New Year's Eve party or a New Year's Day party, whatever the case may be. However you celebrate, this is a challenge for you. I'd like you to take a little time and reflect about Thanksgiving. What worked? What didn't work? What was your comfort level if you were the person with aphasia? What was your comfort level if you were the family or the guest of the family of the person who has aphasia? Whatever your circumstance, can you take a minute to reflect? Did you make a change? If you made a change, was it effective? Have you thought about what you can do the next time? What would you change? What do you need for support to make that change? Think about having the conversation. Just like we're kind of doing this post-Thanksgiving wrap up here and we're talking about our 4 individuals, could you do that as a family? Could you, if you are Shirley and her husband and the adult children, could you guys just have a little conversation and say, can we talk about how mom did communicating and how involved was she and what did you try and what didn't you try and what can we do for the next holiday? This is my December challenge for you. Reflect about Thanksgiving, what worked, what didn't work, and what are you going to do for the next one? So let's keep moving on. Bridging the gap. Aphasia conversation pieces. I talked about it already in this episode. If you do not have your copy, this 4-page PDF is still available to you. But let me paint a picture about how you can use these aphasia conversation pieces. You're hosting a small gathering at your home for your next holiday. Among your guests is John, your husband's longtime friend. John knows about your husband's aphasia, but like many, he isn't sure how to connect with John. He wants to be there. He wants to be there and participate and have conversations with your husband, but he just doesn't know how to do it. So as John walks in, John is the guest, his eyes are immediately drawn to this beautifully designed, yes, I'm bragging. No, I don't know if it's beautifully designed, but A for effort, you guys can give me your grade for execution. But John's eye is drawn to the conversation piece that is posted on the refrigerator. He reads about aphasia and he learns a couple of communication strategies. So as John reads it, you, the wife, notice a slight change in how he's communicating with your husband. He slowed down a little bit. He asked more questions and he paused. And you notice that your husband and John move off to a quieter room of the house and start connecting. Isn't that the power? Isn't that the power of knowledge? Isn't that the power of giving some subtle education in something as simple as a PDF that's posted on the refrigerator to make a change in communication? So the simple yet powerful aphasia conversation pieces, they aren't just decorations. They are bridges. They bridge the gap between uncertainty and understanding. They bridge the gap between silence and conversation. They can empower your guests to communicate more effectively and and empathetically, I shouldn't do this to myself, giving me all these multi-syllable words. They can help make your home a place where true connection and inclusion happen when you have a loved one who has aphasia. This PDF is still available to you. Aphasia Conversation Pieces. If you want your copy, it is free. Go to the website, dolifespeechpathology.com/holidays. You can't miss it. It's right there on that page. In exchange for your first name and an email address, these 4 conversation pieces will be delivered to your inbox. Use them however you see fit. Share them. Spread news far and wide, because with your help, we can continue the mission of making this world and your holiday gatherings and parties and day-to-day communication aphasia inclusive. So we're going to wrap up today's episode. I want to thank from the bottom of my heart to Shirley, Len, Alvin, and Bruce, and your families for having these candid conversations with me, for allowing me to share your story, your lessons learned, your wishes for connecting with your loved ones and people that are around you. And thank you all, the general public who have reached out to me via email or commented on social media to the posts that we're putting out. I appreciate you because I learn from you as a speech pathologist. I think I know where you're coming from. I've been doing this a long time, and I've been in the space of chronic aphasia for almost 10 years now, but in speech pathology for almost 30. I don't have aphasia, and I don't have someone directly related to me, although a very, very good friend of mine does have aphasia, and she gives me insights every day. Shout out to you, Autumn. Thank you. We can do this together, but I want to know your stories. I want to know what you struggle with. I want to know your wins, your challenges, so that I can continue to make these stories, handouts, PDFs, courses, also what I do in therapy day to day in my private practice. All of this information helps me be a better clinician, and I'm grateful to each of you. Thank you all for joining. And I will conclude by saying every person's story matters. We'll see you next week. Have a wonderful first day of December tomorrow. Take care, everybody. Bye for now. Let's see. Oh, I always get this wrong. Goodbye, Instagram. You go first.
Thanks for tuning in to the Listen for Life podcast. We hope you feel empowered and supported. Head over to listenforlifepodcast.com to see the show notes with links and information from today's episode. Do you have a topic, a resource to share, or a guest recommendation? Inquiring minds want to know. Let us know in the comments section.